you. Okay, so we're going to move on now to Amazentis, Amazentis. My apologies, Ashish. I couldn't pronounce that properly, so I should have prepared a bit more.
Amazentis, I think. Amazentis from Lausanne.
Great. Okay, well, Anurag, you're with us, and we've got your slides up, so that's excellent. Over to you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you to the organizers. So we've heard a lot about mitochondrial health, and the last talk we touched upon gut health. So Amazentis is a spin-off out of the Swiss Institute of Technology here in Lausanne, Switzerland. And for the last 10 plus years, we've been looking at natural compounds, bringing sort of the biotech approach to sort of doing a deep dive in the science and clinical development front on natural compounds that can end up as nutritional products, food products, and also dietary supplements. So the focus of my talk will be exactly that. So at Amazentis, we are basically trying to improve health span. So it's lifespan, and we're really trying to target biological pathways that are improving these health span pathways. So one of the key signs that impacts this sort of clinical signs that impacts health span is muscle aging. And we all know it, we all are feeling it. I'm in my mid-40s, so I'm already feeling it as we age. But what you see, the muscle function declines, it peaks, muscle mass and muscle strength typically peaks in your third decade of life. And you have these very nice, if you look at an MRI of a leg muscle, you have very nice, robust muscle mass. And as you decline, the aging sort of, you can, if you're exercising well and if you're eating the right foods, you can end up in a pretty healthy lifestyle and still be functional and move around and do your daily activities of living. But if you're sedentary and not eating right, as you know, with each decade, you start to lose muscle strength and muscle mass, and you could be hitting your 70s and 80s with the muscle looking like this, you know, not very healthy, and it impacts on your mobility, and you could end up in a spectrum of geriatric disorders that we call as frailty sarcopenia. So can everyone see my slide? Yeah? I'm never sure when I'm scaring.
Yeah, we've got your slides, absolutely, Ashish.
Okay. So we did a first study a couple of years back, just looking at 70-year-olds who were very fit, and there are a lot of studies done looking at mitochondrial function, but we wanted to really focus in on the tools and the population we were going to advance in clinical development. So we took healthy folks that were healthy, and then we took folks that are sedentary and losing muscle strength, such as the pre-frail folks. So what we see when we took these folks, the active 70-year-olds, they are very active, they're running almost 10 kilometers a week, they're exercising on a daily basis, and we compared them to pre-frail who are really couch potatoes. They're not moving, they're sedentary, they don't move much. And if you look at their muscle grip strength, it's about half the 70-year-olds, the age match, that have the active lifestyle. And we did two kinds of evaluation of mitochondrial health. So you can do non-invasive using something called as magnetic resonance spectroscopy, where you're basically making people exercise in an MRI-like setup, which is a limb magnet, and you're trying to look at how ATP is being utilized and how it is recovering. And we did invasive, which is by taking muscle biopsies from both the sets of pre-frail or active. So pre-frail are in orange, active are in blue. What you see when we look at the muscle biopsies and we look for the different abundance of the mitochondrial complexes, there's really a significant decline in pre-frail, whether it's complex 1, 4, or 5. And when we look at the MRS, which is the magnetic resonance spectroscopy, and we look at the recovery time for phosphocreatinine, what we see is the pre-frail take much longer. The recovery time is much longer for the ATP to be synthesized compared to the active. And this is a publication we published a couple of years back and really started our whole hypothesis down the muscle health field, approaching it from nutrition and natural products. Is there was a lot of focus on the old philosophy in muscle health to boost muscle mass. So the more mass you get in an old or elderly person, the better they will do in terms of strength and walking. And that hasn't really translated. Companies that have focused too much on the muscle mass haven't really shown great efficacy data on muscle strength. And our sort of new paradigm shift is we target the bioenergetics of the muscle, and we target the quality of the muscle with natural compounds. And one of the natural compounds Amazentis has been working, as I mentioned, for the last 10 years in partnership with the Swiss Institute of Technology here in Lausanne, has been a compound called Urolithin A. The trademark is called Mitopure. So what is Urolithin A? Well, it's a naturally occurring gut metabolite. It's actually made by the gut microbiome. So we all eat a lot of foods and nuts that are healthy, such as the pomegranate, or you may berries and walnuts and pecans that contain these dietary compounds that are called as ellagitannins. So the gut microbiome, once you're taking, if you're taking the right diet, you need the right gut microbiome to harness the nutrients from these ellagitannins. And one of the molecules that the gut microbiome releases following the processing of these ellagitannins is a gut microbiome metabolite called as Urolithin A. And we have seen in our studies, and there are other groups, academic, that have looked into it, not everyone has the right gut microbiome. So only about 30 to 40% of the population has the right gut microflora to do this conversion, provided they're all eating the right foods and nuts on a daily basis. And even those who produce it in a very, very varying level. So the first publication we came out with was showing that Urolithin A is impacting mitochondrial health via a very specific process called as mitophagy. So probably to this audience, a lot of you know what mitophagy is, but just to show you in the scheme of a life cycle of a mitochondria, you have on the left in pink, you have these healthy mitochondria. With age, as they, over the lifespan, they accumulate free radicals. They start looking these sort of crummy looking mitochondria that then over time, as we age, accumulate in the cells that is, needs a process called mitophagy to take out. So think of the waste bin in your home. If it's filling up over time, then it's not going to give a right smell in your house. But if you're cleaning it on a regular basis, so this sort of process called mitophagy declines with aging. And what Urolithin A does very specifically, and that we have published in Nature Medicine a couple of years ago, is that it activates the mitophagy pathway, which allows the cleaning up of the damaged mitochondria, which ultimately leads to further biogenesis. And by the way, mitophagy is one of the top pathways that are impacted by things like aerobic exercise and intermittent fasting. So this is the landmark paper we published together with the lab of Professor Johan Overiks that showed that a lot of aging studies start off in worms, and that's what we did. In worms that were given Urolithin A in their sort of diet, if I may say that, they lived about 45% longer. And when we gave to old mice, which is about equivalent to a 78-year-old human being, Urolithin A for 6 weeks, we see very dramatic increases in grip strength and running endurance capacity. So this was about 4 years back. Since then, there has been a tremendous increase in interest in Urolithin A publications. There's a group at NIH that came out with a whole library and screen of compounds that improve mitophagy in Alzheimer's disease, and they showed that actually Urolithin A was one of the top candidates that could trigger the mitophagy and have an impact on Alzheimer's disease. There's another publication from University of Louisville showing that the gut metabolite can basically abrogate symptoms in this animal model of IBD. And then there are other publications on insulin sensitivity and improving mitochondrial function. And then last year we published our phase 1, a first in human study, which is basically pretty much a multiple ascending study and single ascending study. For more information, you can look at our Nature Metabolism paper here. We started with 250 milligrams of urolithin, which sort of is translating from the rodent doses to the minimal efficacious dosing we needed. We took 12 cohorts of 12 elderly who are healthy and sedentary, and we gave them 4 weeks of Urolithin A. We took biopsies before and after, as well as plasma. And then we kept escalating once we demonstrated safety and bioavailability. So the key outcomes of this study are that it was very safe. It's a natural molecule. Humans have evolved to produce Urolithin A if you're eating pomegranates and berries. So it's always been present in our sort of systems. It's very bioavailable, and we could show that with the supplementation, we could boost the steady state levels. And in the next slide, what I'll show you is basically the muscle biopsies. When we look at the muscle biopsies before and after supplementation, so if you focus on the left, this is the placebo before and after. Each column, this is a gene pathway called Go mitochondrial pathway that includes all the key mitochondrial genes. So each row is a mitochondrial gene, each column is an individual subject. So blue means there is no change in mitochondrial gene expression in the muscles. Red means the mitochondrial genes are getting upregulated. So In placebo, we didn't see much of an upregulation in the mitochondrial genes as we give in an increasing doses from 500 milligram to a gram of UA. What we see is really in 4 weeks, dramatic upregulation of mitochondrial genes. Now, if you focus on the right, the study I was telling you about, the 70-year-olds who are couch potatoes, or the 70-year-olds who are running 10Ks on a weekly basis, and we look at the same genes in the muscle biopsies, you can see that the people who exercise have very good mitochondrial health in their muscles compared to those who are couch potatoes. So we have now gone forward. We have just completed a phase 2 study. This is a randomized double-blind placebo-controlled trial. This was done in healthy people. In nutrition, you always focus on sort of healthy populations, but we do give ourselves room to have a physiological impact. So we chose folks who are sedentary and don't have a very high endurance, so they're not running on a daily basis. And if you put them on a stationary ergometer, they don't do very well. They're a bit overweight, and their age is between 40 to 65 with a mean of 52. And we randomized them into either placebo, the 500 milligram dose of Urolithin A, or the 1 gram dose of Urolithin A. And we looked at a bunch of muscle and mitochondrial health endpoints. So this is typically how in clinical research you look at muscle strength. What we see in this trial, and this is just hot off the press, unpublished data, is that Urolithin A statistically increased by about 10 to 12% the muscle strength. This is in the hamstring. So the way you look at it is you sort of immobilize the subject and you ask them to do repeated flexion and extension of their legs, and you look at the hamstring muscles and the quadriceps muscle to see if they're changing. So placebo, if you see this is change from baseline in the isokinetic muscle strength, they don't improve, they actually decline. This is a long 4-month trial. And when you look at the Urolithin A supplementation at both 500 and the 1 gram doses, we are improving in the magnitude of 10 to 12%. And then we took biopsies, and this is always the holy grail in clinical research. Can you show physiological benefits and correlate them to biomarker effects? And what we see when we look at, again, the before-after change in the muscle biopsies, we see red again is upregulation. We see increases in muscle contraction genes and mitochondrial health-related genes. And just to sort of finalize my last presentation here, we've just also completed another study. The question I get is, what levels of diet do you, what do I need to drink? A glass of juice? Do I need to drink 4 pomegranates worth of juice? Do I need to eat a bowl of berries? What Urolithin A levels will I get from the diet? And the key is the microbiome. So we've taken 100 individuals in a metropolitan area in the US, and we've looked at how many actually came into the study producing Urolithin A, and you can see very less. So it tells you that not everyone is eating the right diet. And we gave them 8 ounces of pomegranate juice, which is a commercial available pomegranate juice. And you see about 40% do start making it, but in very variable levels, and not everyone can do the conversion because, well, they don't have the gut microbiome. On the right, we also, then it's a crossover design. We gave the same subjects our first product that we have just released in the US market called Mitopure, which is a brand called Timeline, and you can see it delivers greater than 6-fold of Urolithin A in terms of bioavailability. So in summary, poor mitochondrial function leads to decline in muscle health and strength. Amazentis has discovered that Urolithin A is a novel mitophagy activator that clears faulty mitochondria, allowing basically improvements in muscle strength that we have shown in 2 randomized clinical trials, 1 in elderly, 1 in overweight middle-aged folks. And yeah, with the commercial product, we have shown also that we can deliver 6 times more of Urolithin A. And we also recently received what is called in the nutrition segment in the food world, GRAS status from the FDA, which means generally regarded as safe. And we've just commercialized our first products under the Timeline Nutrition brand. So happy to take further questions.
That's excellent, Anurag. Very interesting that you're getting so close to market now. What is your commercialization plan? How are you going to bring your product to market?
Well, we have actually commercialized it. It's a food product that you can sold under the Timeline Nutrition brand in the US. We only have the regulatory approval in the US, so it's only commercialized in the US for now. And we started selling it just at the back end of summer. And yeah, people can, it's a sachet which is fruit flavored with pomegranates and berries, so you can mix it in yogurts and your muesli in the morning and take it. And we also do have a partnership with Nestle Health Science now, and they're also going to commercialize that in their products.
Excellent. And do the likes of Nestle, the megacorps of this world, are they really starting to see the benefits of these types of technologies, the grass technologies coming into their product lines?
Well, I think bigger companies do have to pivot to sort of find the next technology, cool technology with leaner startups, and they are getting more and more interested in improving nutrition. You know, that's their goal, cellular health.
Excellent. And you're based in Switzerland?
Yes, we are based out of Lake Geneva in Switzerland, in a small city called Lausanne.
Yeah, good. And Anurag, you decided to go US first, though. Good strategy.
Yeah, US is the biggest market for dietary supplements and food products, and yeah, it made the most sense to go there and then expand from there.
Wonderful. Well, an excellent presentation, and thanks for your insights there. No further questions from the floor, so thanks very much, Anurag, and good luck as you scale up.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks. Bye.